Peace, and welcome to another episode of the Grown Man Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Baif Nordine, and today I have one of the homies here with me. Somebody I've gotten a chance to know over the last, 4 years, 3.5 years?
Yeah, I think it's coming up on 4.
Yeah, so we've been building, and the encouragement has been overwhelming that I should be doing this. So I'm doing this.
Finally.
You know what I'm saying? Finally. 700 episodes later. Without further ado, introduce Mr. Darnell. What's going on, my brother?
What's the word?
The word is the word, my brother. I appreciate you for pulling up. Welcome.
Thank you very much. As long as this ain't Vlad and you ain't gonna incriminate me or nothing.
We putting cases on all you bitches. That's what we doing. So first, I like to ask the same questions pretty much every episode, and the first one is, when you hear the word or the phrase grown man shift, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Accountability. Yeah, I think that's a huge part of being a grown man.
Yeah.
And just like even full blown adult. Like
Yeah.
you gotta take accountability for everything, even when it's something that's done to you or the universe has done to you. It's for you. You know what I mean?
Facts.
And I think once you let go of excuses and pointing the finger and blaming and stuff like that, that's a part of being grown.
What was how did you get to that ideology? I'm sure you weren't born with it. So what was the thing that made you land on that, like being accountable?
I think therapy played a part in it. And then friends used to tell me they used to say like, oh, well, you're angry or like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the stuff that I kind of like brushed off.
Yeah.
Until like a few of them had a real conversation with me once, and he was like, nah, like you really like you wilding out sometimes, like you really angry. And then I started to kind of figure out how to like process that.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of my anger was rooted in not feeling in control. And then from there, I was like, well, how do you feel in control? How do you do? And that's where the accountability kind of comes in.
Yeah.
You know? And once I did that, I started to be like, oh, all right, I'm not, you know?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. So if you ever go to therapy or spend time in therapy, a lot of times you'll bring stuff up and they'll say, so what about you?
Yeah.
Or how do you feel? Or what did you, you know?
Yeah.
They always bring it back to you. They try
Yeah.
not to like talk about stuff outside of you and, you know?
Yeah.
And now I started to realize like, oh, I do that a lot where it's like, oh no, well, that person's not doing this or that person's not doing that. And I realized a lot of times as humans,
Yeah.
everybody wants the other person to mold or kind of like accept their way.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all like, nobody's house or anything is perfect.
It's a fact.
Right? Yours is broke, my broke. But I'm like, nah, come over to my broken spot because it's better than your broken house. You know?
At least I got 2 doors.
Right.
Yeah.
And in reality, you just have to accept that your broken home is yours and their broken home is theirs. And that's both okay. You know, like they're not wrong, you're not wrong. And I'm responsible for how I feel. So no matter how you interact with me, or how I interact with you, or what's done to me, or what, and it wasn't a decision that I made or a decision that I made and the results, I have to be all right and be accountable with that.
Yeah.
And the thing that I have control over is my emotions and how I feel and how I show up.
That's a fact.
Represent. So that's a big thing that I try to do often. And I found like, of course I'm not perfect at times, you know, like, but I quickly try to like ground myself and like look at things in like a bigger picture. When small things bother me, try to look at things in a bigger picture. And when big things bother me, I look at it in a smaller picture.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, well, the world is burning and this and that. And I'm like, well, I get to come home and I have a beautiful girlfriend. I have this, you know, I'm healthy. Like I look at that. And then when it's things like, oh man, the pod's not going how it wants today, you know, or whatever it is, I look at it as a bigger picture. I'm like, oh, well, the pod as a whole is doing, you know?
True.
So I tend to like shift back and forth between the two to kind of keep balance and happiness.
So in your line of work, I guess I can say Well, what do you do? Where you from? What do you do to kind of give context? So as I'm asking the questions, they're more, I guess the whoever the listener or watcher is, they can come on a journey with us.
Yeah,
So yeah, what do you do? Where you from? All that good stuff.
got you. Born and raised in Queens.
Okay.
What do I do? Um, I like to now at this point in my life, I like to say that I'm a creative or a creator. You know, I don't like to, yeah, limit it. But my background is rooted in video and production. Studied it in school. Obviously, went to St. John's. From there, I've worked in TV, some films. I hated that stuff. I hated the large crews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Found myself working at Showtime Sports for like 6, 7 years I did there. And basically it was like this super cool place where it was like original content meets marketing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I worked in everything from commercials and like teasers and other stuff like that to there was an actual show that we had called All Access, which was like a docuseries on like the fighters' lives. And then there's like the little features and stuff like that that you see like when you actually watch the broadcast. They'll go like, oh, well, here's the fighter having dinner with his family. Here's him training, like stuff like that. And that's where I really got to like sharpen my skills and my teeth. And I learned not just like technical stuff about it, but I also learned the marketing aspect of like how feelings and emotions tied in and stuff like that. Because a lot of stuff that I did was mostly sports, and boxing was like the big one that worked. I was like Mayweather, and then I started to realize through doing stuff is really just challenging people's thoughts and emotions, or invoking certain stuff out of it. So that can even be something as simple as like playing with race, like boxing, like the Puerto Rican Mexican rivalry. You know what I mean? Doing stuff like that, or like the hardworking guy versus the flashy guy. You know, because people tend to look at things and see like the reflection, like, oh, that's me, or that represents me. Like it's either aspirational for them or it's relatable.
Okay.
And I kind of learned how to tie it into like one of those two things. With marketing, and then from there, I went on to, I won't say the company, but I went to work at
Baltimore.
at another company, which is more like straightforward marketing, like sports apparel, stuff like that. And I see the similarities. Like I can see the stuff that kind of works is the stuff that's tied to emotions and stuff like that. And it's like there's a fine balance that you got to try to find. And it's a struggle at times, like definitely to find it, because it's like marketing is so much of like return, like sales, you know? And then the creative part is like, oh no, it has to look and feel this way and do all that stuff. So you got to kind of like find that balance to make it work. And I think I do a fairly good job at it. I've been around. Wow. I probably started working like in the industry, like film and television and marketing and production and all that stuff. 20 years now.
Damn.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was 18, 19 maybe.
So how you work 20 years and you're only 27?
I wish, man. Man, work-wise, I've been working 24, 25 years already. But that I just developed from my parents. It was like a gift and a curse, I always say, because they've always told me, oh, get a job. You got to get a job. You got to make money or this and that. You know, so as soon as you can get working papers, you out the door going to work. But I also realized that was their upbringing, their time they go on. You get a job, you stay there for 30 years, whatever, retire, the whole thing, right? And they never instilled into me like entrepreneurship, because I mean that wasn't their thing. It was never like, oh, find a way to generate money. Or generate, you know? And I tell a lot of my like younger cousins and nieces and nephews and stuff like that, And I'm like, oh yeah, they say get a job. I said, it's really just figure out how to generate money.
Yeah.
Whatever that is and however that is, legally, of course. Like,
yeah.
if you can, if you can generate
We're
money
not in
from
the kitchen whipping up pots. Yeah.
Right.
Facts.
If you can generate money from flipping stuff from Alibaba to Amazon, if you could do it through social media, if you could do it through, I started this thing where I mow lawns or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Figure out how to generate money. You're not stuck to a job to make money. And I think for a long time, everyone thought that. And myself, I thought that. And this ties back to the accountability and the anger.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I got to a point with one of my jobs where I'm like, I'm not seeing like the return, I think. And not even just financially, just from like whatever I felt should have been like the accolade or like whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm doing A, B, and C. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't this working out how I should? And then you realize that A to B is not a straight thing. Like, you're very lucky if it's like straight. Like, I did this and that was the result.
Yeah.
Nah, it's usually I did that and I hoped for that to happen, but that really went wrong. Now I got to figure that out to do it. Then I got to go up here to figure that out. And now I'm back at A, but now I know.
Yeah.
You know? And then a lot of times you'll look and you'll see somebody else's journey or their path and you're like, how come they just got to do it that way?
Yeah.
And like, you really don't know. Like, sometimes they just get lucky and that's their path.
Yeah.
And they missed out on all the other gems and other stuff that you learn along the way. Yeah. But that was my thing. Like, they never taught me how to like, or told me like, oh, you can make money without.
Yeah.
And like through my conversation with them, I realized that they didn't even fathom or think that. Like, they see the stuff that we do now with the podcast.
Yeah.
And they're like, their mind is like, what? Like, how could you know?
You can do this.
Yeah, you can do that. You're going to Philly, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm like, like this is a thing. Yeah, so that's it. Now I'm in that phase of my life where like I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff. Like, now I have a completely different or an additional set of skills and knowledge that I just didn't have before without going through certain stuff. Because a lot of times you look at it as like, oh, there has to be the financial return immediately.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes.
True. Because a lot of things, value doesn't necessarily translate into monetary value either. Value is value no matter where you put the pin in it. Value could just be inspiration. Value could be motivation. Value could be a perspective change. Value could be anything that is valuable. It can just be that. It doesn't necessarily have to be attached to money. You had mentioned your parents. Would you say that the level of, because this is the grown man shift, the level of maturation or the level of where you see the world, how you show up in the world, especially in the industry as fickle as film and production. We know it's hurry up and wait, and there's a lot of divas where you ain't supposed to be a diva, but you just kind of are. It's part for the course. What values from your family do you bring into your day-to-day operation or your day-to-day work situation? And what level of manhood energy do you put forth in that? Like, do you model that from your dad as far as like, well, my dad worked, so this is why I work the way I work, or my dad was a certain type of way, or this is how I work, or did the influence come from both of your parents?
The influence definitely came from both my parents.
Got you.
I think in different ways, but the same thing.
Got you.
Right? So dad was like super workaholic in the sense of like above and beyond. We always tease him, call him company man. All right? It's snowing, blizzard, everybody calling in. This man gonna get up and go and fight through the snow and do it to get to the job. And you know what I mean? Facts. Even nobody else there, and like do all this stuff, like always working, like I'm gonna do this and do extra work, and that's who he is, right?
Got you.
A lot of times like I didn't understand it, and I was just like, but what? Like, you're not getting no real extra money. Like, they're not promoting you quick. They're not, doing all this stuff. And then like I started to realize, I was like, maybe it's just a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a work thing that you have where like
Yeah.
there's a value in the actual work or whatever it is, or like how you identify yourself that I show up and I worked hard and I, you know?
Yeah.
And I definitely think I picked that trait up.
Mm.
Where like, I'm slow to start certain things.
Yeah.
Because I know when I do, I'm gonna
Go all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from my mother, I got the value aspect of like work for
Yeah.
money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mother's always been like about the bottom dollar. Like,
Yeah.
you know? And there's good and bad of that, obviously, because when you put value in the dollar or money, you know,
Yeah.
dollar will go, you know?
That's a fact.
Or if you don't get a certain number for your work, then you feel like,
Yeah.
oh, it's
I
not
got
worth it,
cheated.
or it's not valuable,
Yeah,
I got cheated, or it's not, you know, or it's not good enough. So I definitely learned that from both of them, but it was definitely like a work household. Like I remember being a kid and my parents are leaving at 7 in the morning or whatever, 6 in the morning. They both worked in the city, something completely different, like in finance and stuff like that. And I'm not seeing them till close to 8.
Yeah.
You know, 7:38, and it's like this is the 90s and this and that. So it ain't no that remote work or like I can work from home, internet.
Latchkey kid.
Yeah, I could do a little. I could take my laptop home with me. Laptops wasn't a thing. You had to do the work. There.
Take it home with you.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough that I was never really like much of a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up. My grandmother was always like close by, so I lived there with her for like I guess 6th or 7th grade, maybe.
Yeah.
We all lived in the same house, and then before that, I would just go there after school.
Yeah.
So I was never like much of a latchkey, like left alone to my own devices.
And then I started selling drugs at 12.
Yeah, I lucked out. My parents, my family in general, and I didn't realize this until I got older. They were like super like protective and like, you know, like, where you going? Who you hanging out with? Like, I'm not doing sleepovers at nobody's house. I just don't go to random people's friends' house. That kind of just like roaming the neighborhood and others. It's quiet. You know what I mean? I was doing that, and I didn't realize that until like I got older and like through conversations with family and stuff like that, and then you kind of just find out family history and like, oh well, that uncle had to do some time and he got in trouble. This other uncle had his troubles and battles, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things where it was like we let them kind of roam free, or like it's a neighborhood thing, you know. You're not watching the kids all the time because you can't even fathom like. My mom was born here.
Yeah.
My grandmother's born in Jamaica, right? So all her sisters, siblings, mother, they all come from Jamaica. So you got to think, going from Jamaica to New York City.
Yeah. It's a world of difference.
Yeah,
it's a world of difference.
You know, and they came to Harlem initially in the 60s, 50s.
Oh.
You get into a lot of shit then.
Yeah.
There's no cameras, no TVs.
Yeah.
No cameras, no cell phones. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So your kid going outside to play, fine, this and that. Because in Jamaica, go out and play.
Yeah.
Your kid going out to play, and it's like, all right, this and that. Not a kid selling drugs, the kid's on drugs, the kid's doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, pimp by high school and whatnot.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff like that. So I think that helped develop the fear mindset. And my family and household overall.
Yeah.
Where it was like, all right, don't take too many risks and don't do this. And I felt like I had that for a long time. Like I didn't take certain risks and held myself back. And then I started to realize like, nah, I gotta like go for this. Cause I watch people get older and you know?
Yeah.
And I love to have conversations with older people.
For sure. It's mad wisdom.
And like, you can just see in like, a lot of times people go and they say like, all this stuff, like not that all this stuff is right or anything. Yeah. It's just how they emotionally like handle stuff and how they look at things, and a lot of times you'll see some regret there.
Yeah.
Like, oh damn, I wish I would have did that, or if I would have known that, or I would have taken
Yeah.
that. And I started like, I don't want those. I want to minimize as many of those feelings as I can.
Hell yeah.
As I get older, so I'm just trying to do it to the fullest right now.
What values do you say, those traditional values from your grandmother coming from Jamaica and being raised with the American tapestry in your background, what values do you feel like were instilled from Jamaica versus the American style of doing things?
One thing I think is a sense of like family and sharing and community.
Mm-hmm.
Like you came to my birthday one year.
Hell yeah, super lit.
And you seen how many people
Mad
show
family.
up, and
Yeah.
so there's probably a birthday in like my family
Yeah.
every other weekend, every 2 weeks, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And at least 25, 30 people showing up. And that's just how we
Yeah.
operate and move as a unit. I don't know when this is coming out, but this is before the live shows.
Yeah.
I got family who's like, I'm pulling up to both New York and Philly, you know?
You don't gotta come to both.
Yeah. It's just how we are and how we show up for each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And we go above and beyond.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that we have. But what comes with that is like a sense of expectancy. Like, oh, you have to be there. You have,
Got you.
And we tend to tie ourselves to that at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's definitely the biggest thing that I think we've taken from Jamaica. That, and then the overall kind of like work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially as like a man, and like I come from a long line of like women only raising. Like I'm one of the, like I grew up in a 2-family household. Right? And it wasn't with my biological father per se, but I had there. But I've seen a lot of aunts and like grandma. Like I've never in my life seen my grandmother married, or like with my grandfather. My biological grandfather passed before I was born.
Yeah.
Right? Or like not before I was born, maybe like a week after, like, Yeah. Never physically been in the same space, met him.
Yeah.
And then the man that she was married to after that, they had already got divorced and separated. She lived, at that point, she had moved to Queens, lived in Queens. He still lived in Brooklyn. Like, I had a relationship with him because he still showed up and this and that.
Yeah.
But I've never seen them like, oh, that's grandma and grandpa.
Seeing that love up close and whatnot. Yeah.
Like, I've never seen like, oh, yeah, that's grandma and grandpa's house. So, you know what I mean? It was grandma, grandpa. And that's just how it was. And then I've seen my aunts like go through divorces and be single, Yeah. So it's very like different for me because like as a man growing up in that space, and it's like, all right, well, the men that I do have to look at and stuff like that, I have an uncle, right? And then I have my stepdad, and I have anything that's kind of like outside of the closest
Got you.
unit. And it kind of made me kind of like feel like step up and like have to be in that place of, and that's a huge pressure I put on myself for a long time.
Hell yeah. I'm the man of the family.
I have to be everybody's like husband or caretaker or, you know? So that's definitely something that like stood there, but like that it like doubled and tripled down the work ethic. Yeah. Because even my dad, and when I say dad, I'm talking about my non-biological dad.
Yeah, for sure.
But I always call him dad.
The Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace.
Right.
Understood.
I watched him show up for people in my family who like, your dad don't show up or your biological father's not there, and you know? I watched him show up and be a brother to other, you know?
Yeah.
And I've seen that, and I kind of like took that on. It's like, oh, all right, you know?
Yeah. So would you say that he is your example of manhood, or
Part of
were
it.
there a few things that kind of crafted your idea of manhood?
Definitely a few things that crafted my idea of manhood. Definitely he played a part.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some older like cousins
Yeah.
played a part. And I can't lie, like television and media
Yeah.
played a part.
Yeah.
You know? And like good and bad has come from both and all of it. Because at times you look for things to be like perfect and whole, and like that's the sole answer. But there was like things that my dad couldn't give me because he didn't have. You know what I mean? Like
that's a fact.
And he's younger than my mother, so I'm trying to think. So essentially, like we're less than 20 years apart. You know?
Yeah.
So you got to think, if he's 25 or whatever, and I'm 7 or 8, like he's still learning how to
be
process
a man
and
himself.
do things,
Facts.
you know?
Yeah.
So he can't give me that yet. And this is tied back to accountability. You get old and you realize like, oh no, that's on me now.
Yeah.
To fix and understand that he can't be perfect. Neither could my cousin that I'm looking at. Like, oh, you're the coolest person in the world. You can't be perfect. Neither can the people on TV be perfect. You know what I mean? And once I realized that, then I started to be like, oh, now it's taking to pieces.
Yeah.
You know, so it's taking to pieces like, oh, the hard work part worked for you, this and that. But you didn't have that entrepreneurial, like that, I'm going to stand here, this is my worth kind of thing. So
Facts.
I'm going to take that from this piece side over here. You know, and you kind of make your own puzzle and put things together. And I'm losing track of what was the original question.
Nah, you good, because it actually is bringing me to my next question. My next question is, at what age was that when you realized that your growth was your responsibility?
Oh. 30, 31 maybe. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I guess it's definitely there. It was definitely not before 29, you know?
It's like 30 is like the pendulum I feel like that everybody swings on, where it's like 30 come and then your mind just starts to open up to something different. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, and like there's been a ton of like growth and like reassessing even from then. But it happened, right?
Yeah.
Because like I genuinely realized like, oh no, all these things that I thought do this and happiness happens, or do this and the money happens. You know? And I'm not getting that.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm doing it and it's still not.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing extra and it's still not.
It's not
and I'm just
happening.
kind of like, wait, what am I, like, why do I want this?
Yeah.
Why do I want that to happen? Like, I remember sitting at Showtime at the time, and this is one of the times when I knew it was like, oh, it's time for me to, like,
get up out of here.
Leave. Because, like, there's, like, the political stuff going on. You know, it's common everywhere.
Yeah.
Work stuff to an extent, right?
Yeah.
And I just started looking around, and I was like, I don't think any of this would bring me happiness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think becoming the SVP or the senior creative director is going to make me happy. Right? And I was like, I did a ton of these, like, huge boxing pay-per-view events and traveled and been here.
Yeah.
And I was like, to the point where I take it for granted now. I don't even have gratitude when I do it. And I was like, the happiness isn't
regular.
Yeah, the happiness isn't there.
Yeah.
For that. And then that's when I started to like reassess. I'm like, yo, well, what if you keep putting like this happiness? And you start to see waves of people like this person gets laid off, this person, and it's like you realize that you don't have any control over that part.
That's true. It's a fact.
You have no control over that part. So then I was like, let me cut out everything in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? That's the work. That's the money, whatever it is, and get straight to the happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you start to find like the little things that make you happy. And it's like, it could be, oh, I enjoy hanging out with my grandmother. I enjoy the walk. I enjoy, you know what I mean?
Facts.
And then you start to find like a new gratitude in like these things when you cut that other part out. Because whatever you're putting value in that you think is going to bring you something, it's not guaranteed. And then even if with time, it usually fades
like, a little bit. Yeah.
If you would have told me at 22, 25 that I'm going to make the money I'm making now, I'm like, it's lit. You ain't got no worries. That's the biggest lie in the world.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, and then you realize that the problem was never money.
It never was.
It was never money.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
It was never money. Like, the problem is value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and
what do you value?
Yes. Yeah. It's true.
Man, and it's like, you start taking accountability, like I'm saying, and then you start finding yourself, like, I went through a period where I went 6 months celibate, right? Because I found myself like, yo, you got extreme value in women.
Yeah.
And how women treat you, perceive. You know what I mean? And I was like, I have to take that power back, kind of.
Yeah.
Because, like, you spend a lot of time, young man in your 20s, this and that, and a lot of it is just unused energy.
Yeah.
You have a ton of energy. You know what I mean?
Vibrato.
Yeah, and it goes into trying to make money or be promiscuous. You know what I mean? That's
mad J's in your collection.
Yeah. It's just like, I got to do something.
Facts.
And then you got to realize, then you start to realize, like, oh, that energy needs to be used towards something that kind of fulfills. You know what I mean?
Something meaningful, man.
Yeah. I heard a quote recently from Jay Shetty.
Yeah.
And he was like, what's the difference between like and love? He was like, when you like something, like you like a flower, let's say, you pluck it and you take it with you.
Yeah.
Right? And the flower dies or whatever and goes on.
Yeah.
I like it, you know? When you love something, you water it. So you see the flower and you water it and you want it to grow and be whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
You have to, and that's like something that I've like, before I heard this quote, I try to like, whatever something's going to be, it's going to be like, let it grow and blossom. Like I remember when Pop lost his page. He calls me and about the page and he goes, I said, I'm not doing another one, this and that. And I was like, all right. I was like, if you don't want to, like, don't do a page. Yeah. Like, whatever's going to make you happy and fulfill, like, I'm not your friend because you got a page or, like, you know, we don't do a pod.
Got a page no more, man.
Because you got the page. Like, if that's going to make you happy, like, don't do it. And I remember he was like, wow. He was like, yo, you one of the only people that was like that. He said, because everybody else sees it as like, oh, if he has the page, he can post that for me. Or he can do this, you know?
Facts.
And that's kind of like pluck the flower kind of thing. Like, I don't care about like, I want you to feel fulfilled and happy and you know?
Facts.
And that's how I tend to approach things. And like people told me that will like work like, yo, like you're like super like easy to work with and everything like this.
Yeah.
Because I stopped approaching things from like an ego driven, I want this to be mine. I want this to, you know?
This is going to make me look good.
Yeah. And it's like, we're all human. And at the same time, we both, like, you want to water things and you want to be watered.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
So you try to go to places where you are watered, you know, where they're like, grow and do your thing. Yeah, so that's my thing. I approach the pod the same way. Like, people sometimes they're like, oh, well, you don't talk that much and this and that. And it's like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do? Fight and try to take the words and this and that? Like, Pop's legit one of the funniest people in the world. Yeah. Reg has grown into his own thing. Where I remember having a conversation with Reg early on. Reg was like, I didn't know I was funny. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, you're fucking hilarious. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just got to let them go. Let them grow. You gotta I'm absolutely fine with that. Like everybody shine and get spotlight and doing stuff like that. Because it's like at the end, if I take all the words or I try to take all the words and say, what happens there?
What happens to the ensemble that helps the symphony be what it is?
Yeah, you're in a dead garden at that point.
That's a fact.
Everything is dead because you done plucked it all.
It's a fact.
Everything or the instruments is out of tune and everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a fact.
If you're the bass player,
yeah,
play the bass. I'm not coming over there to fight with you for the bass.
Yeah, it's a fact.
If I'm bass player too, cool. We play the bass together and figure, like
facts.
A lot of times you find people in competition with other people and like their friend circle or family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's really just in the turmoil.
Yeah.
You trying to fulfill something in yourself, and you say, whether you see in the other person, oh, that person seems happy, or that person's that. So if I have what they have, I'm gonna be happy.
I'm gonna be happy too.
Nah,
it's not.
It don't work that way.
Yeah, I had the realization. I say because I'm 44, so I had the realization. I say maybe around 37, 38, that it wasn't the money. It wasn't the thing. It wasn't the new opportunity. It wasn't none of those things. It was, how can I, one hand wash the face, one hand wash the other, both hands wash the face. Mm-hmm. How can I do that more? Because it's not about me doing things by myself. I never liked the term, it gets lonely at the top. Because it implies that you did it by yourself, or the person that you became just didn't align with the people that were around you on the way up. And I feel like if I'm making space for me and my gifts, but I'm also making room for you and your gifts, then our gifts can coincide. There's no need to be competitive. It can be complementary, as opposed to it being like, well, if I ain't eating, you ain't eating. Or if you ain't eating, then I ain't eating. Yeah. Nah, I'm eating so much so that I have to have room on my plate for other people to eat too, or else I can't eat all of this by myself. It's impossible. Yeah. So at this stage in life, learning how to sharpen my sword with other men who are also in the business of sharpening their sword has been like a pretty cool journey, because I don't believe in competition. It's why I don't have a sports team, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I feel like once you start getting into the dynamic of, well, this is my team and that's your team, people get very argumentative. People get very ego-driven. It's very, my team. Nigga, you're not on the team and nobody is paying you to go this hard for the team. So I say all of that to say, like, how do you find relationships with other men? How do you build relationships with other men? What is your ideology when it comes to building relationships with other men when you're not being competitive?
My ideology is that everything's finite, so I have gratitude. Yeah. Like, if we're friends for 5 minutes, 5 years, 50 years, to death, whatever it is, I'm grateful for this moment of friendship. And I also accept, because you mentioned about being lonely at the top and stuff like that, it requires 2 people, right? So you can get all these new gifts and, I look at all this stuff and I'm blossoming, I'm doing all this cool stuff. And maybe the other person not blossoming at the same speed or whatever, which is okay. But now if they see that and there's envy or like
jealousy,
Yeah. And it's one of those things when it's like, whether they feel like they're not being watered anymore or they're not helping you, whatever. And sometimes it just can't be. You know what I mean? Like, facts. I feel I have to move on and do this. I don't feel a way about that anymore. Facts. Like I did for a long time, like early on. Not even early on, I guess right after college or whatever. I lost one of my friends who I consider like a close friend. I've known this kid at times since like 2nd, 3rd grade. Damn. Right? And I didn't lose him like he passed. Yeah. I lost him because we grew different paths, you know?
Facts.
Like, he got married super early, and then his wife just was on like, oh, nah, here's what you need, you know?
Yeah.
And he made this, and that's how he has to show up in that space, and it requires not being friends with people who were whatever it was, right? And I took that hard for a little bit, like, damn, like
we was homies, man.
You know?
Yeah.
And then as I've grown up, and you have like, oh, well, that's my friend that we were mad cool when we worked together. We were cool with this, and you know?
Yeah.
You realize that, and I'm like, now there's a gratitude, like, nah, we had good times, like we was cool, you know?
Facts.
And that came with like, kind of like the accountability of like, when you're mad and there's that anger and this and that, and like even grief is really just unexpressed love.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
So you're mad because you was like, oh, we didn't get to do all this other stuff that I had envisioned in my life. You know what I mean? Like, we supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be doing this. And, you know, all these expectations, like, you have all that stuff, but you ain't really fully express or, like, live in the moment when you had it. So that's why I always try to, like, be happy and, like, you know?
Yeah.
Because when it's done, it's done.
That's a fact. That's a big fact. So, because that sounds like a not redirection, but like you redefine what friendship was in that space for you.
Yes.
How would you say that you've, especially being that you didn't have your dad, your biological dad, directly pouring into you, kind of got your manhood chipped up from multiple angles.
Yeah.
What's a place in your manhood journey that you had to redefine at some point? Like something that you held dear to your heart, and then you like, nah, this shit gotta change.
Having multiple women.
Okay.
That was a real thing. Like, I had to redefine, like, yo, you don't always need, like, a woman or multiple. You ain't got no girls, or you ain't got, like,
you ain't got no bitches.
Like, having a girlfriend and, like, the minute you break up with a girl, you outside trying to find.
Something
like,
else.
You ain't got to do that.
Facts.
You don't have to, you know what I mean?
Facts.
That, I think, redefining my relationship with money. I think redefining my relationship with ego and, like, toughness.
Yeah.
You know?
Put a mic.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah.
Redefining my relationship with ego and, like, toughness and bravado and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of people sitting in prison in the graveyard because of ego.
That's a fact. That's a big fact.
You know? And a lot of times it's like, I can't let you show me up, or I can't.
Yeah.
You know? I got to show this person
got
up.
it.
Yeah, and it's not even that you got it. Like, so much of it goes into, like, when you end up in those situations and, like, why am I in this space?
Ooh. Yeah.
Like, hold up. Like, do I even want to be at this party?
Yeah.
Do I even want to be at, do I want to be drinking? Do I want to be at this bar? Do I want to be, you know?
Yeah.
And then when you start doing that, you realize, like, oh, my ego, my bravado is not even in question in certain these spaces anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't go to places where, because if you go to places where there's ego and bravado,
yeah,
you're going to bring out ego and bravado.
That's a fact.
Don't go to those places. Go to the places of love and happiness and, you know, and
peace
fun
and tranquility. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you don't have to do those things.
Facts.
And for a long time, like, you see yourself as like, oh, I have to do those things because that's what a man does. You know? And a lot of that comes from, a part of it was like media and other stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
You watch and you have the aspirational stuff, and you watch and you say, oh my God, this person's the coolest fucking person in the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
Like, I remember being in 6th, 7th grade, whatever, and Puffy and Mace got on the shiny suits and the Raven Rollies, and like, you think these motherfuckers live the coolest life in the world. I need a pair of goggles to put on my head too, like,
facts.
You know, and it's like, oh, you gotta have women, you gotta have Rolex, you gotta have this, you gotta have that.
That's true.
And it's like, you don't.
Yeah, you need that Bentley, baby.
You don't. I've had conversations with friends, and they was like, yo, I'm thinking about getting a new car and this and that. Well, why are you getting a new car?
Yeah.
Oh, I said, well, you've had a new car before, right? Yeah. How was that feeling? He was like, it was cool. This and that. I said, how long did it last?
First couple of days.
And he was like, yeah, about like month 2, month 3,
Yeah.
And I'm like, so why? So
Yeah.
you know what you're gonna feel. Like, do you want it?
Facts. Facts.
And a lot of times you just repeat the same cycles over
Yeah.
and over and over. And like sometimes you got to just get yourself out of that cycle. Sneakers.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks like, oh, I'm obsessed with sneakers and this and that. At one point, I truly was.
Yeah.
All right. And now I started to realize like, yo, you put so much value. And I'm like, you don't get to wear a lot of these. They sit there, this and that.
Yeah.
People come by, I like those. This and that. Take them. I'll give you the sneaker. You know what I mean? I'll give you the sneakers. I have given like majority of my collection sneakers were like 3-4 different times.
Yeah. Shit, you gave me a pair of sneakers.
Yeah, like I don't have a tie to it like that.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. I enjoy it. I like it. My favorite. But it's okay if I don't have the sneaker. Like it's not going to really change that much.
Yeah.
For me in my life.
Where's my value? I don't have these sneakers anymore. Who am I?
Yeah. I just don't have that anymore.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. So I'm happy that I've kind of like conquered that aspect of it.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
A lot of dudes get stuck in they should have been, could have been, would have been, and they get stuck in that story of like your greatness, you had a chance to be great and you missed the opportunity, and now because that opportunity's gone, you no longer have that. You get what I'm saying? So there's a certain level of appreciation to being able to rewrite that story. That shit is not easy, and it does take a level of bravery to be like, yo, I know that everybody is expecting me to be like this, but I'm deciding on my own strength, my own will, my own standing on business version of that to change it. Because, like you said, niggas get caught 6 feet deep, or now you in situations that you had no business being in because you just didn't have the strength to say, you know what, I don't really believe that anymore. I believe this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just go ahead and do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like, as you get older, like the things change. So like,
facts.
It may not be sneakers, but somebody's like, oh, I need the house. I need this. I got to get the bigger house. I got the 6, I need to drop I need the 1.2 million house. I need this. I need that. And it's like, then you end up flat broke and other stuff like that.
Facts.
Like you got to be real with yourself and be like, why do I really want this?
Yeah.
I don't really need, like, I've sat on the couch and I considered buying a Rolex at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, why am I buying this Rolex?
Yeah. You wanted to wave it in
just
the sky.
The Rolex was a sign to tell people I bought a Rolex so I could.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they don't really care that you can buy a Rolex.
It's a fact.
That's for you to feel fulfilled and this and that. I'm like, go find something else that's going to do that, because you're going to be very disappointed when you have the Rolex and it's just like, all right, then it's sitting in the corner somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't have that where they check themselves. A lot of people don't check themselves.
It's a fact.
They just go like, oh, fuck it.
I'm out here in the world doing what I do. Yeah.
But to get to that point, sometimes you got to hit like
rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
That's a fact.
You got to go and be like, damn, I'm miserable. Why am I miserable?
Yo, I'll be honest. I understand it's inevitable in a lot of cases, but I'd rather make the choice to change as opposed to a circumstance coming and then I change based on the circumstance. Some tragedy happens and now I'm a good person because I was a piece of shit. I'd much rather be like a intrinsic part of me that's saying, all right, you know what? I'm watching, I'm paying attention, I'm participating in my own evolution, and I want to go there. I don't want to go there. I want to go there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's unavoidable.
It's a fact.
It's like there's nothing that we can do about it, right?
It's a fact.
There's like great times, there's low times. Those are unavoidable. You just have to know that both of them end.
And you got to stand firm in the storm. You just have to. Yeah.
And like you could be fighting to like I'm gonna hold on to this high time and this and that. But like you just gotta be present in that moment and enjoy that. And then when it's over, be grateful for it.
Facts.
And then just be all right with it. And in the low times, you got to know like this sucks, but eventually it ends and you get over it. And that's the constant ebbs and flows of life.
That's a fact.
I feel like a lot of times people get in like the low part and they're like, I'm never going to make it back to that high part. Or they get on the high part and they're like, I'm never going to go back low. And then when you're at the bottom, it hurts.
It's true.
Yeah, and then some people just try to get out, and then it's even worse when you just look from the sidelines and be like, damn, look at all that's happening, but you just stagnant and you're not out there trying to make anything or do anything. You got to be all right with the highs and the lows because it's unavoidable.
Facts.
And just know that it's for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like, it's for you. Like, that's the accountability part. So even when something ain't happen, you ain't make the decision it happened.
Yeah.
It's for you. Whatever it is, whatever lesson it is or pain or whatever, it's for you.
Facts.
So just be all right with that.
So, you being the man that you are now, would your younger self be proud of the man you became?
Yes. I don't think I'm what he expected, but I think he'd be proud.
Yeah.
Because if you go to my younger self, like, what? You got two Bentleys, mad bitches. Like, I'm out there living the best life ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your younger self looking at you like, man, you a square.
Yeah, probably. But I think he'd be proud of who I am, that not only am I kind of like unwavering, that I'm tough in a way that like, nah, that don't break. Like nothing breaks, you know?
Yeah, facts.
And I think that he'll be proud of, because that was always the thing where it's like, yo, you got to be the toughest. So there's like, nobody can't show weakness, you know?
Yeah.
So I think he'll be proud of the actual genuine strength that's there now.
Yeah.
But I think the actual like lifestyle is probably different than I thought. But it was different than I thought because I didn't envision the value and like the love and all the other things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like there's like a special kind of like thing to having a small group of friends, or, you know, or like a certain group of friends, or like, oh, nah, we don't really do that. We kind of just chill and, you know, there's like peace and tranquility there. And it's not a party. I don't think I knew those things existed. And I thought of things as only like, it has to be 100% and it has to be lit and it has to be this and that. That's what I thought it was. And then I didn't see the other side of the coin. And you see the other side of the coin, you're like, oh, all right.
Do you say, or would you say that vulnerability or being vulnerable played a part in that?
Yes. And like being vulnerable is the toughest thing to do. Like somebody who's vulnerable, is the toughest person in the world.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Because everything else, like being guarded, not being vulnerable, is just insecurity and anxiety.
It make you fragile as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be bamboo, not the oak tree.
Yeah.
Bamboo goes with the wind. You know what I mean?
It bends but don't break.
Oak tree's mad tough.
Yeah.
Until the time it's not. And it's going to snap and it goes down.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of be vulnerable and be all right. Because like that's part of kind of like, all right, yeah, that could happen, but it's all right because it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Fact.
You know, I always use this. I was like, and people use this to minimize things and like, but this is something that's healthy for me because it balances me out. It's like, am I going to die?
Yeah.
It's okay. You know what I mean? And even in death, it's okay. You're supposed to die.
Yeah.
We all die. It balances things out really, really quick. Like, am I really that mad that I'm stuck in traffic?
Yeah.
It's okay. Am I mad that I lost $10,000 or $5,000 or $50 or $1 million, whatever it is on whatever scale?
Yeah.
Did you die though? It's okay.
Yeah.
That's genuinely how I approach things.
It's not bad. I mean, yeah, we rounding out to about an hour, so we can land the plane.
And Strange Red just here staring at me now.
What are you guys doing?
I'm never here.
There's it's been a very, very insightful chop up. I hope we could do it again for real.
Definitely. And for everybody, you can go and add the pauses in later for the entire conversation.
Oh, nah, we good. This is a no pause communication right here. on this side because we're evolving past pause.
Nah, I wouldn't go that far, but
I'm saying
pause
on
is
this
fun.
platform, this is pause free, with respect. Any parting words that you want to bestow upon the Grown Man Shift audience?
Don't wait. Live your life. Do it now.
Fire. Well, it's another episode of the Grown Man Shift podcast. I'm Baith. That's Darnell. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit me up at grownmanshitpodcast@gmail.com if you're trying to bring any topics to life. If you want to discuss anything, if you want to pull up yourself, please do so. And yeah, peace.